Hi, my name is Barry Sterling Mitchell. I produce the Sterling Net Point Power Rankings and the Bias Plus reports. And this is Ben and Barry on football.
Hello out there. This is Ben Dickerson. I am your co-host. Today we're going to cover the top 15 wide receiver rooms in the NFL as ranked by Pro Football Focus. Before we go any further, let me get this out of the way. I do not 100% agree with the rankings. Okay. Hopefully, if you are a fan of one of these teams that's mentioned, you will make a comment as to whether or not you think that where they are ranked by Pro Football Focus is a proper ranking for them and how you feel about it. I will make some comments that'll let you know that I agree or don't agree. But for the most part, we're going to try to give you some information that on players that you know but may not know about statistically, and may give a few opinions that might have something to do with fantasy. We'll see.
Fantasy, man, it's all happening. I posted this morning on our page, I believe August 31st. Teams have to be down to the 53-man roster. So there's going to be a lot of things popping between now and then. I just want to mention a couple things real quick. You know, we are both fans, for example, of Good Morning Football. Am I correct?
That is correct.
And this is Nate Burleson's last week with the show as he moves on to CBS. We literally posted this article on our Ben and Barry Facebook page. So I just want to do a shout out to Nate. Good luck. You know, I learned a lot listening to him. Watched the show this morning. Truly enjoyed the show. Their whole reach back on all the different Nate moments and things was absolutely amazing. I think the one thing that I picked out of all of us was when they were doing his highlights. And he had one particular highlight where he took the ball and he's going in for the score. And Randy Moss is blocking big time.
What?
I'm telling you, I can't remember ever seeing Randy Moss.
Neither can I.
So it was worth it right there for me. Just there. If I get a chance, I want to try to share that particular shot because Randy Moss was blocking, man, you know. So that's part of the fun of football. We love that kind of stuff, man. So much going on in the world. Also, I want to mention we did a promotion that will be showing very soon. There we go. Many of the people who are listening will be listening to us on the radio, on our online radio performance at WJRL953.com it's now going to be, but this will be the last Friday from 6 to 7:30.
Okay.
Then we will be moving to Saturday mornings at 10.
Saturday morning. Yes.
So we'll be sort of preceding or coming up when college football is starting to kick off on a Saturday, big college football. You are the college football guy on the show. I always give you that. I try to learn as much as possible. We'll have to get your brother on the show.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Donald's big time college.
Because he is about college, and I know he's going to come with a lot of good information. But we basically are NFL focused. So, you know, that morning show is going to help people sort of get juice for the weekend of pro football. You'll have all of your fantasy tidbits. I'll have some Madden stuff, but, you know, we play Madden 24/7. So that's not so much of an issue. All right. Anything else from you before we get ready to kick off this list?
No, not really. I'm ready to rock.
You ready to rock and roll?
Ready to rock and roll.
All right. So again, this is the top 15 wide receiver rooms as ranked by Pro Football Focus.
That is correct. Let's rock.
The one we're going to start out with is number
15. We're going to work with number 15 and work our way all the way up to number 1. And the number 15 wide receiver core is the Green Bay Packers. Now, I happen to know a good number of Green Bay Packer fans. So they might go, what? Number 15? Are you kidding me? And the first thing that's going to come to their minds probably when they say 15 is too low is Davante Adams. Davante Adams is the number one wide receiver according to Pro Football Focus. That's in the league. He's a superior route runner. He runs the entire route tree. Now, the rest of the core, may not be very familiar with. I happen to like this guy, Alan Lazard. He's an Aaron Rodgers favorite, so that helps. He runs solid routes, and he's 6'5". So not super speedy, but a good route runner and good size makes him a nice target for Mr. Rodgers. Marquez Valdez-Scantling had an up and down season last year. He did have some drop balls, but proved to be a good deep threat. He can get behind the defense very surprisingly sometimes. Devin Funches is a reliable guy. I think he came over from Carolina, but I believe I heard just this morning that he is out with a season-ending injury. So that's a big deal. And they got a young man named Amari Rodgers who has really good potential. He's a slot receiver, but a little unproven at this point.
Wow. On the contract side, you've got a cap hit. Now I have, who was it? Funches, you said was
Yes, sir.
It was injured. So I have him included in this cap hit. We'll have to see how that all works out. But it's a $24.9 million total cap, of which Davante Adams is $16.7 million of that for this particular year. Now, when they brought Randall Cobb in, they actually gave him a little more of a contract than what I thought. They signed him to a 3-year, $27 million contract. His hit this month, or this year rather, is 2.6, just under 2.7 million. So they made some good investments, but like you said, the money follows the number one player, and that's Davante Adams. So we'll be looking for that connect all season long. All right, who we got next?
Up next, we have the Cleveland Browns at number 14. This may also be a surprise to some folks, but here's how it goes. Odell Beckham Jr. returns from injury to reclaim his wide receiver 1 status. Now, whether or not he'll produce as a wide receiver 1, still a little bit up in the air because, he's coming off a knee injury. Sometimes it takes guys a year or more to actually, really get going again with an injury like that. If he's truly healthy, we should know soon enough. I don't think he's played any preseason games yet. I believe this is preseason week number 3, which would be the last one. So, if he plays, then we'll get a chance to take a look at him. I doubt if he's going to take a lot of snaps. If he doesn't play, then they probably feel like he's healthy enough and they just want to be precautionary and save him for week 1 of the regular season. Jarvis Landry is still a classic possession slot receiver, and he's still very, very dependable. Rashard Higgins looks like the number 3 option after a career best season in 2020. He started off his career a little shaky, but I was very proud of him because I happen to like Rashard Higgins. I thought he played really well last season. And 2026 rounder Donovan Peoples-Jones showed big playability as a rookie, averaging 20.9 yards per catch. So although he didn't get a whole ton of targets, he made the best of them. Definitely a deep threat at 20.9. That's crazy number. That's crazy number. Most of the established deep threats, and you'll hear this number tossed around as we go through this list, are averaging, to be considered a true deep threat, they're averaging somewhere between 15 and 18 yards per catch. So he averaged 20.9 yards per catch. That means his bomb's away when he's out there.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Their wide receiver room is a $41.5 million room. So they're one of the higher paid rooms as far as the cap hit this year is concerned. Of course, Odell and Jarvis are the mainstays there. It's a little over 30 million between the two, and everything else is distributed. Is Austin Hooper, did you mention him?
Austin Hooper's a tight end. I'm trying to stay away from tight ends unless I consider them to be an X factor, as I did with the Atlanta Falcons.
Okay, okay. I did include him in this particular group for whatever reason, but that's going to be an interesting wide receiver group. And what do you think about their playoff potential?
The Cleveland Browns?
Yeah.
Oh, they're Super Bowl contenders in my eyes.
Okay, okay.
But the only thing that can hold them back is the fact that they're going to have to battle through probably the second toughest division in the NFL. If we both agree, I think that the NFC West is most likely the toughest division. I would say that the AFC North is probably second toughest. A lot of competition there. Pittsburgh, Baltimore, even Cincinnati, up and coming. It's going to be rough, but I believe that Cleveland has the weapons.
Okay, then. And as I'm looking, who's up next?
Number 13 is the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, some folks are going to go, whoa, wait a minute. How the Bengals ranked ahead of the Cleveland Browns? Well, number one, they're only ranked one slide above. So, you know, a lot of people's opinions could say that one could be up, one could be down, but this group can be very productive if rookie Jamar Chase can make the transition to the NFL. And we all know, after watching football for a number of years, that although nowadays it's a little better than it was back, I don't know, 8, 10, 12 years ago, the transition to the NFL from a college wide receiver is not always really, really smooth. Tradition says usually the second year in the league is when young receivers really start to make their mark. So we'll see if Jamar Chase can do that. Now, if he can get back his chemistry with his LSU teammate, Joe Burrow, who's the quarterback, that's going to help him out a lot. So we'll see what happens. I saw him look a little shaky in a preseason game. I didn't watch the whole game, but he had little alligator arms on a play or two. So
I think I saw that play.
yeah. Running across the middle is not the same in the NFL as it is in the SEC. And people praise the SEC, but the SEC is really famous for offensive playmakers, not defensive playmakers. There are some really great standouts on SEC defenses, but not outstanding defenses as a whole. So I would say that would be the difference. The next guy is T. Higgins. I love T. Higgins. I had T. Higgins on a couple fantasy teams. I think I just did like 3 drafts in the last 5 days. So I'm pretty sure I have T. Higgins on at least 2 of those teams. He had a dynamic rookie season, made the transition really easily, and he's a mismatch threat all over the field. Tyler Boyd has become very dependable and efficient in the slot. He's been around. He's actually the veteran of the group. Like I said, extremely reliable, very dependable, catches the ball, short and intermediate routes, moves the sticks. That's a nice receiver core, man. If Jamar Chase can make the transition and really become a good playmaker, that will allow T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd to run under single coverage, and they're going to be nice. That's going to be a nice group.
All right. Well, hey, about half of what the Browns are spending this year for that particular group at about $20 million for the group. Tyler Boyd is almost half of that right there.
Yeah, well, you know, Cleveland's got 2 big-time veterans on that team where, you know, in Beckham and Landry, so they're going to demand more money, whereas Cincinnati's operating with a younger group. So,
hey, very efficient, very efficient.
Yep.
All right, who's up next?
Number 12 is my New York Football Giants. Now, everybody knows the Giants made a lot of moves in the offseason, obviously trying to upgrade their receiver core. I think they did really well. They signed Kenny Galladay in free agency and got themselves an immediate veteran vertical threat and end zone target. The move frees up Darius Slayton now, who is also good on deep routes, but can be explosive all over the field. So Darius Slayton is a really good receiver, probably far better than most people know. With Galladay now being on the team, we're going to probably see Slayton at his best. At least I hope so. First round rookie Kadarius Toney is very dynamic with the ball in his hands, and he'll make an immediate impact in the slot. And then Sterling Shepard, if Sterling Shepard is able to stay healthy enough as he did last year, he can post a solid season and he'll compete with Tony for snaps in the slot. Nice group. Deep threats, chain movers, guys that are good after the catch. It's a nice group. I hope they excel.
Yeah, I know you do, Mr. Giants fan. No doubt about it. They're at just slightly under what the Bengals are at 19.3 million total for the group.
That's
Sterling's
good,
hit this month or this year is 9 million of that 19. So he's, they'll be looking for him. Kenny Galladay was a great pickup. I
just hope everybody stays healthy. That's all.
Yeah, that's everybody's hope here. All right.
Yeah, right.
No doubt about it. Who's up next?
Up next, number 11, getting close to that top 10, y'all. Number 11, just outside of the top 10, is the Seattle Seahawks. Arguably ranked too low by whoever. DK Metcalf, one of our favorites, is a size and speed mismatch nightmare for all DBs in the NFL. Tyler Lockett has been consistently productive year after year, working out of the slot. He can also be a vertical threat. So those two guys alone are arguably in the top 10, top 6 duos, okay, in the league. The number 3 option here looks like second rounder Dwayne Eskridge, who ran a 4.38 40 at his pro day and also brings quickness and good route running to the mix. So Eskridge can actually elevate this core that's already just outside of a top 10 core, according to Pro Football Focus. I think they should be ranked a little bit higher. I'm not going to say whose slot they should be in because we're still going through the list, but Eskridge is going to be a big deal. If he can translate that speed and what he did in college to the Seahawks and become a true vertical threat for them, these guys are going to be extremely, extremely dangerous. Look at the size of Metcalf. Look at him.
And I'm looking at the size compared to Lockett, and he could probably outrun Lockett, you think?
Yes.
Okay. But Lockett's not
quicker.
Lockett's a fast guy.
Locker's fast, but he's quicker. But Metcalf is just the size and speed combination it's scary.
And now you want to tell me that Mr. Eskridge ran a 4.3 40?
4.38 at his pro day, yes.
Oh my goodness. This is my NFC West with my beloved 49ers here. So that's what we're going to have to deal with.
Yeah.
Twice a year at least. So wow. And their cap hit this year is only 13.9 million. You still got DK on the rookie contract. Matter of fact, Tyler Lockett is the biggest portion of that at 9.2 million. So,
right.
That's an interesting differential there. So young receiver group. Wow, man. Okay. All these 4.3s and such going on. All right. Who's one step better than this group?
All right, here we go, hitting the top 10. At number 10, we have the Miami Dolphins.
Oh my goodness.
Again, these teams can be moved one slide up, one slide down, depending on your opinion, but I'm going to give you the information that I have. Pro Football Focus says they're number 10. This receiving core is loaded with speed and playmaking ability. Let's start with Mr. Will Fuller. He was signed in free agency away from the Texans, and he's coming off a career year. Now, even though he was suspended for PEDs and missed the last 5 games of 2020, he still recorded 53 catches on 76 targets for 879 yards and 8 TDs. That's a great year for some receivers in this league, okay? Yeah. Or at least a very good year. And he missed the last 5 games. Oh, yeah. Then they took Jalen Waddle in the draft with the 6th overall pick. Now, your 6th overall pick in the draft, there's a lot going to be expected of you. He brings a similar skill set that Fuller has. I'm talking about speed and playmaking ability. And he also reconnects with his college quarterback, Tua Tagovailoa.
Congratulations.
See how smooth that was?
Very good.
Yeah. The number 3 option belongs to a big possession guy by the name of Devontae Parker. He's a vet. He's got great size, great route running ability. And oh yeah, they also have some speed in the room with Jakeem Grant, Lynn Bowden, and both of those guys will be vying for snaps, but they'll all probably play just because they each have a little bit different skill set. Grant and Bowden don't get the number of snaps that the other guys get, but because they're so fast and they're so quick, they're going to be inserted here and there, during games. They're all going to get good playing time.
Okay. 17.7, I'm sorry, $38.2 million wide receiver room there in Miami. Will Fuller and Devontae Parker take up 22 of that. So that makes sense with that. So Tua, and I'm leaving it at that, has some receivers to throw to. He's got some weapons, man. So that's going to be interesting. Almost a $40 million wide receiver room there. All right. Who's up next?
Number 9, the Los Angeles Rams. Another team that some people are saying is a Super Bowl contender. Now, neither Robert Woods or Cooper Kupp is a superstar, but those are the names that look at the picture. Right on cue.
Right on cue.
Neither one of them are considered a superstar as far as I'm concerned. Some people will argue with that, but they are both excellent route runners with exceptional hands who regularly make big plays and move the sticks. Now, they got a guy named Van Jefferson. You might not have heard a lot about him. He had a nice season for a rookie last year, and he should become a better deep threat with more usage. And speaking of deep threats, the Rams signed Deshaun D-Jax Jackson. He hasn't been healthy for the last 2 seasons, and he may be used situationally. And second-round rookie is a D-Jax clone. It might be Tristan Jackson. Okay. Some people are saying that they brought Deshaun in, like I said, to be a situational player and also to kind of mentor some of the younger guys that they're trying to bring up. Since he's been in the league for a while, he kind of knows the ins and outs. He knows how to be a pro. He had some problems early on in his career, so he can tell them what to look out for, things like that. That would be taking a page from some NBA teams, most notably the Miami Heat, who have a gentleman on their team that doesn't even play but suits up every week. He's there just to mentor everybody and keep the locker room cool. So that may be his role. I know a lot of Philadelphia fans still like Deshaun Jackson, but like I said, he's been battling injuries specifically all his career, actually, but specifically over the last 2 years, he hasn't been able to stay on the field. So I don't know how much they're going to get production out of him.
All right. There, Deshaun Jackson, one of your favorite take the top off guys.
Oh, he said it. I hate that phrase.
I know you do. That's why I had to say it. But hey, look, Deshaun Jackson, out of a $17.7 million wide receiver room, he got 3 of it. Robert Woods got 5 and Cooper Kupp got 5. And I'm just throwing in general numbers. Actually, Robert Woods is 5.8 and Cooper Kupp is 5.
What's their total?
17.7 million.
It's pretty low, isn't it?
Yeah. But again, this cap hit, so it depends on how they've structured things. Again, looking at these contracts, it's almost like people who have credit. I have the choice. I can pay now or I can pay later. So
I'd say they did pretty well with that, considering that, Woods, Kupp, and Jackson are all veteran players. So they did well with those contracts and probably put away some money that they can use on defense or for a running back, because Cam Akers went down. So
well, they just got one.
Yeah, Sony Michel. They brought Sony Michel in.
Yeah. So at least they recognized they needed they needed that upgrade, and they took care of that.
Yep.
All
absolutely.
right, that takes care of that. All right, Benny. So who's up next?
Up next at number 8, your beloved San Francisco 49ers.
No way.
Yes way. Now, I don't know if you're surprised or not that they're at number 8. I'm a little miffed that they're in the top 10 and my Giants are just outside the top 10 at number 12. But that's how Pro Football Focus sees it. You know, I'm not going to say too much more about that. Here's the deal. The Niners wide receiver core is loaded with dangerous playmakers, but they got to stay healthy. That's what doomed them last year. They just couldn't keep everybody on the field. Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk are a nice duo. They both excel on short and intermediate pass routes, and they're great yak guys. And when I talk about yak, we're talking about yards after catch. Both of them are extremely explosive once they get the ball in their hands. Now, when I was going over my notes and looking up information about the Niners receivers, this name came up and I was immediately intrigued. That name is Travis Benjamin. He is a speedster and he's averaging 14.9 yards per catch. I believe that's a career stat. Now, some people may say, Travis Benjamin, ain't that the guy that came back and had a weight problem and was trying to make it as a tight end? No, that was Kelvin Benjamin. This is Travis Benjamin. Why do I not remember seeing Travis Benjamin play last year? He opted out last year because of COVID, right after signing with the Niners, okay? Previous to signing with the Niners, he played a couple of years with the Los Angeles Chargers. They might even been the San Diego Chargers when he first got there, but he spent most of his career with the Cleveland Browns, who drafted him way back in 2012. So let's remember, this guy was drafted in 2012. He is still considered a take the top off type of guy. That's the kind of speed that this gentleman has. Why do we not know a whole lot about Travis Benjamin besides the fact that he's fast? And I'm going to just indulge me just a second. It's not going to take too long. Listen to some of the problems he's had, not necessarily making rosters, but getting playing time with people that he had to vie for playing time with. Let's see. You might remember some of these names. Muhammad Massaquoi, you ever hear him? Devon Best, Josh Gordon. These are players who he constantly had to compete against to get on the field. That's why he's not a big name, but he's a name everybody knows. In 2014, he had a camp battle with Josh Gordon, Nate Burleson at the end of his career, Miles Austin, and Andrew Hawkins, who is now a commentator on NFL Network. All these guys are like similar type receivers to him. So he was constantly in battles for playing time. In 2015, remember Dwayne Bowe used to play for the Kansas City Chiefs? Brian Hartline? Yes, these are guys he had to compete against in camp. So this guy has never had an easy run of things. He's just had like not a bumpy season, not a bumpy career, but a career that's been downplayed because he's constantly going against guys who are sometimes a little better than him or sometimes considered a little better than him. At least 2 or 3 times, he's had to battle for playing time with Josh Gordon, who's obviously a great athlete, but who can never stay on the field because of drug problems. So that's the story behind Travis Benjamin. I love him, got good hands, and can still run extremely fast. And I remember talking to you about Kendrick Bourne last year. I liked Kendrick Bourne, possession receiver, but they let him go. Why? Because I think Mr. Shanahan heard you when you said, I love speed, I need speed. Hence, they got Travis Benjamin, and they stuck with a guy named Richie James, who had some good time last year, filling in for Deebo when he was hurt, and Ayuk when he was hurt. So he proved his worth, and he averaged 18.1 yards per catch, even with limited usage last season. So he's proven to be a deep threat who can bring the ball in.
My wide receiver room is very interesting. you know, again, I look at the Madden ratings in terms of their features, their capabilities, and things of that nature. Travis Benjamin, for example, has a speed rating of 91. So he's not the fastest guy. You know, if you looked at DK Metcalf, he's probably 96, 97.
But this is his 10th year.
No, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
I understand what you're saying. The point that I'm making is that so is Debo, so is Ayuk. They're all around 91.
Okay.
We don't have any super speed guys. The funny thing about Travis Benjamin on the game is that when I looked at his features, because I'm seeing his name, I'm like, okay, where can I put him at? His strength was like in the 30s, whereas the average strength for the other receivers are like 50 to 60.
Yeah, he's a little guy.
About him that didn't, you know, that was questionable. If he had 95 speed, 98 speed, something like that, that'd be one thing. The fastest guy on the team is Mostert, you know, or Mostert, however you want to see his name, at about 94. So we have a lot of guys who are relatively the same, you know, very good. I don't know if, you know, we have great receivers. When I look at what we've paid, you know, relative to the cap hits, our receiver room is $8.9 million this year. That's it. And one of the lower cap hits in the entire NFL, with Debo and Ayuk making, you know, Ayuk just under 3 mil and Debo just over 2. So, you know, it's going to be interesting, but these are the people that fit Shanahan's concept. You know, I always remember him with the Falcons breaking that record for most receivers who scored a touchdown, I do believe. Right. It was like 15 or some, you know, way outnumbered, because he was really spreading the ball around. And that's another reason why I still kind of lean toward Garoppolo for quarterback, because it's about running that offense more than about being a super quarterback. We'll talk a little bit about the differential between him and Trey Lance a little bit later when we go to our page. But okay, my beloved 49ers, let's go, baby, let's go. Who's up next?
Number 7, the Denver Broncos. I tell you this, I love this group. I don't know if 7 does them justice. I'm not going to say where I think they should be. I'm just going to say I'm not sure 7 does them justice. This group is young and loaded with potential. And I say potential because they've kind of had some spotty quarterback play there that may have, you know, maybe not helped them reach the potential. But that's not the only thing. Courtland Sutton was hampered by injury last season, but he averaged 15.4 yards per catch in 2019. So again, the potential is there. He comes back healthy this year. They're expecting him to do really well. Last year's first rounder, Jerry Jeudy, is a real slick route running playmaker. He caught 52 balls on 110 targets for 856 yards. That is not bad at all for a rookie season, but he had trouble with drop passes. That's not necessarily on the quarterback. KJ Hamler out of Penn State had trouble with drops also, but he's a dynamic playmaker with speed and quickness, and he can win on short and deep routes. I like KJ Hamler. KJ Hamler's a little on the smallish side, kind of like Travis Benjamin, okay? But he's young. He's got really good speed. Tim Patrick is probably the most efficient of the group. He caught 51 balls on 74 targets for 742 yards and 6 touchdowns, and he had no drop passes. So, you know, if they can get some steady quarterback play and they can spend some time in front of that jugs gun, getting them hands together, this group could be wildly effective. And it comes right on time with the fact that Melvin Gordon, as running back, knows he's going to have his hands full keeping the starting job with Javonte Williams coming in behind him. So their running game could get a little bit better too. Broncos are going to be scary. Broncos are going to be really scary. They got a highly ranked defense. I know we did secondaries a few weeks ago, highly ranked secondary. Man, watch out for Denver.
Denver just named their starting quarterback.
Yes, and I commend them for doing so, as opposed to some other teams who will remain nameless, who still can't seem to figure theirs out.
Interestingly, this morning they showed some highlights of the Panthers game against the Chiefs.
Okay.
With Bridgewater at quarterback.
Yep.
Bridgewater battled the quarterbacks. I think they lost by 3. It was like a 33-30.
I don't remember that game. Did McCaffrey play in that game?
Huh?
I don't think McCaffrey played in that game, did he?
I'm not sure because it was all about Bridgewater when they were showing the highlights of what was happening.
Okay.
But long story short, they gave the Chiefs a handful with Bridgewater. And Bridgewater, I see, ran 1 touchdown in. You know what I mean? So he was doing a little bit of everything. And, there's still a lot of questions about him relative to how high his ceiling is, I think.
He's one of them guys that has to really fit. He was a good fit with New Orleans, but he didn't seem to be such a great fit with Carolina. And now it looks like he may be a good fit here with Denver. So we'll see.
We shall see. They have a $12.9 million cap hit on the receiver room this year. So
not bad at all.
Not bad.
They're all young.
Yeah, good distribution. Everybody's in that 2 to 3 million, maybe just under $1 million range. So nobody's getting an outstanding, contract or anything like that. So this looks like a room that they can grow with and get better with as they go along. And their defense, we already talked about that defense, right? I think they were very highly rated.
Yes.
I remember. Okay.
Yeah, Denver's going to be a handful in the AFC West, which includes the Chiefs. I can't wait to see that Denver Chiefs game. I can't wait. That's going to be very interesting.
Denver Chiefs. All right, let's see. All right. My favorite quarterback, I think, is coming up next.
You got to love this. As much as we talk about Kirk Cousins, his receiving core is ranked number 6.
Oh, my goodness.
Number 6.
Oh, shucks.
But there's a reason why. So before we get started, there's a big reason right there on your screen. Before we even get started, the transition from college wide receiver to NFL, which we just spoke about a little while ago, can most times be difficult. 2021 first rounder, 2020 first rounder, I'm all over the place here, Justin Jefferson made the transition very smoothly, and he also made this a smooth transition from college slot receiver almost full-time to an NFL wide receiver, okay? Playing outside instead of in the slot almost exclusively. He had 88 this is a rookie season now, 88 receptions, 121 targets, 1,400 yards, and 7 touchdowns. When they lost Diggs and they drafted Jefferson in the first round, some people were a little worried. This guy came in and hit the ground running. Nobody talks about Diggs in Minnesota anymore. Nobody talks about Diggs.
Yeah.
They forgot all about him. Now, here's the other half of a very dynamic duo, Adam Thielen, who I've seen people on Facebook try to trash Adam Thielen. He's as steady and dependable as they come. He's graded as a top 11 receiver 3 of the last 4 years. That's Pro Football Ranking. He's been in the top 11 3 of his last 4 seasons. Last season, he caught 74 balls on 106 targets for 925 yards, just under 1,000. But he had a whopping 14 touchdowns. 14 touchdowns. That's Adam Thielen. You cannot talk bad about Adam Thielen around me, stop doing it.
Wait a minute. Didn't the Vikings have another receiver who was known for just catching touchdowns?
Yes. Chris Carter, back in the day, all he does is score touchdowns. That is correct. Now they got another one.
Now they got another one.
So these two are arguably the top duo in the league. I say arguably, but the number 3 option is kind of up in the air between Chad Beebe, Olabisi Johnson, and a 5th rounder, Amir Smith Marset. So I don't know who's going to come out of that mix. I think Chad Beebe's probably been around the longest. So I'd say he'd probably be the front runner for the number 3 guy. But that duo of Jefferson and Thielen is so good that just lifts the rest of the crew up, and they're number 6.
Number 6, I was talking about my Niners and how much or how little they had as a cap hit this year. The Vikings are 7.9 million,
Wow.
with Jefferson is 2.9 and Thielen is 2.5. So
Thielen's underpaid.
Well, didn't you say this is maybe his last year of his contract?
I think this may be a contract year for him. Thielen, if he has a season like he had last season, he's gonna make himself a lot of money. He's in line to make a lot of money. Fantasy alert. A wide receiver that scored 14 touchdowns last season, which is about the biggest you can get in fantasy, is touchdowns. 6 points, okay? And he makes a lot of catches, all right? This guy just did that last season and could be on a contract year this season and can't be double covered because he's got Jefferson across the field from him. Grab that dude. Grab him.
Yeah. As long as Kirk Cousins
well, let's not.
No,
as long as he doesn't mess it up.
And get a little hit on Kirk just for the fun of it.
Poor Kirk.
That's my buddy. I'm all right with Kirk. Okay, all right. I'm gonna leave him alone. Who, Mr. Dickerson? We are in the top 5.
We are in the top 5, and number 5.
I don't have I wish I had some noisemaker or something like that. The top 5, because we're definitely gonna have to make this a specific segment. You got your top 5 wide receiver rooms in the NFL. That whole top 5 would be a fantasy alert. Am I not correct about that?
Yeah, pretty much. You're gonna hear names of guys who should be selected in the top 3 or 4 rounds in every fantasy draft. Number 5 might be a little tad controversial for some folks. I don't know, but here we go. At number 5, we have the Tennessee Titans.
Oh, shucks.
Now, coming into only his 3rd season, A.J. Brown has been dominant, running the entire route tree. A.J. Brown is a beast in the DK Metcalf mold, okay? He's able to get deep. He's averaging 17.1 yards per catch, and he's displayed a lot of explosiveness in yards after catch. He caught 70 balls on 101 targets for 1,075 yards and 11 touchdowns. That is Pro Bowl material, almost all pro material. This guy is a beast. And he did it in a run-centric offense. He's a teammate of Derrick Henry.
Yeah, okay? The king.
So throwing the ball around is not their forte. So that means you got to be pretty efficient to come down with numbers like that. He caught 70 passes on 101 targets. That's pretty nice, okay? Good yardage and 11 touchdowns. And some of those 11 touchdowns are some really exciting videos that you want to watch because they came with yards after the catch. They weren't bombs into the end zone. He knocked people over, okay? So yeah, he's a lot to take
beastly.
Get hold of. Yeah, he's beastly. Now, they lost Corey Davis. Part of this is why this might be a little controversial ranking, because they take into consideration what the players did the year before. So they lost Corey Davis, who had a career year last year. But they replaced him with perennial Pro Bowler Julio Jones. Again, just like A.J. Brown, still has size, speed, ball skills, can make any defensive back pay. He's still a nightmare. Now, Julio's had some issues with injuries over the last couple seasons, but the skills are all still there. So that duo alone, A.J. Brown and Julio Jones, is why Pro Football Focus is ranking the Tennessee Titans wide receiver core at number 5. I personally don't think that's enough.
But you think they should be higher?
No.
Oh,
I don't think, I'm saying that's not enough to rank them that high.
Okay, now I understand. Go ahead.
And I'm taking into consideration that the third guy, I didn't even bother to write his name down. You may mention him when you talk about the salary cap numbers. And also Julio's had a little checkered past with injuries. So I don't know, a little shaky on that one.
It's funny that you're shaky on that. They have their wide receiver room. Now, I'll mention the guys that, again, the less known names real quick: Cameron Batson, Chester Rogers, and Marcus Johnson, Josh Reynolds. Those are the other 4, but you have Julio and A.J. Brown. You have a total cap hit on that room of $21.2 million.
Wow.
Julio is 15.3 of it.
Yeah. Yeah. So AJ is going to have a contract year coming up pretty soon. If this isn't, I think he's still on his rookie contract. And when you mention those other guys, I'd say Josh Reynolds will probably be the guy that becomes the number 3 option there. He's been around a little bit longer than some of those other guys, and he was playing with the Rams, I believe, last year. So he must have come over in free agency. Little quiet transaction there, but Josh Reynolds can play. He's not bad.
Hey, for all of those stats that you gave on A.J. Brown, this cap hit is 1.5 mil for 2021. So they're getting away with a lot, man.
Oh yeah, they better be saving up.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. And the whole time you were talking about A.J. Brown and his stats, I'm thinking, man, I don't think anybody's giving Ryan Tannehill that much credit for those, to have a receiver with those type of stats.
Yeah. Again, on a team where most of the time he's handing the ball off to Derrick Henry. Mm-hmm. But when they have to throw the ball, Tannehill's been getting it done, man. When he was with Miami, we thought he was a bust. I know I did. I was like, yo, this guy's a bust. He came in highly rated. I don't think he's going to make it in the NFL. And then he gets to the Titans and resurrected his career as far as I'm concerned.
Oh, no doubt about it. I mean, wow. He's efficient. He's not flashy. When they talk about the great quarterbacks, they generally don't even mention his name.
Right.
I don't know where he fell in the rankings. We did quarterbacks. I had to go back and take a look, see quarterback rooms. But in any event, Ryan Tannehill is running that offense. That's kind of like what I was saying about Garoppolo. Some guys can run the offense, and that's really what you want. That's one of the things I think is going to make the quarterback race in New England interesting.
All right. We digging in now, folks. We're digging in now. We're down in number 4.
Division, let's talk about who is up next.
Number 4, the Buffalo Bills. Ooh. I love talking about the Bills. Almost as much as I love talking about my Giants. I love the Buffalo Bills. Now, here's what's interesting about the Bills. The Bills have used 4 wide receiver sets quite a bit, especially last season. I think they used them maybe more than any other team besides maybe just one. Stephon Diggs is a route running stud. If you ever just go on YouTube and bring up Stephon Diggs and watch him run routes, it's freaking incredible. I put him right up there with Devontae Adams and maybe 1 or 2 other guys as far as quick feet, getting in and out of breaks on all types of routes. Okay, so that's always fun to do if you don't have nothing to do and you want to watch somebody run routes. Stephon Diggs is the guy you want to go to. Last season, he produced 127 receptions. It was either first or second in the league, I forget. 127 receptions on 162 targets. You think they like throwing the ball to this guy? Sheesh. 1,535 yards and 8 touchdowns. He's a beast.
Reliable.
True wide receiver one. Here's a guy that sometimes people forget about. Cole Beasley. He is one of the top slot receivers actually in the league. He gained 967 yards last year, catching 82 balls on 101 targets. Cole Beasley is very busy and very tough to cover out of the slot. Underneath intermediate routes, sure hands. He's the man. Now, he picked up Emmanuel Sanders, who didn't have a great season last year with the Saints.
Right.
But he's still a good route runner. Pretty much has been relegated to being a possession receiver, but he can get that job done. And they also have Gabriel Davis, who proved last year to be a productive vertical threat. He averaged 17.5 yards per catch. Remember, I said anything between 15 and 18 is really, really good. He averaged 17.5 yards per catch last season, and he scored 7 touchdowns. And that's with minimal use. He didn't get a whole lot of targets. So, number 4, Buffalo Bills, very dangerous group and a lot of depth. A lot of guys that can hurt you.
I did not want my Niners to trade Emmanuel Sanders.
I always liked him. I thought he should stay too.
You know, we had him and you know, I liked him. They have good distribution, a $21.3 million cap hit with Stephon being 6.3, Cole 7.3, and Emmanuel 4.6 of that. So what's that? 6, 17, 7, about 18 of that 21 is right there in those 3 players. So that's their power group, you know, that's their power group. And that's number what, 4? They're the 4th ranked?
Yes.
All right, with 21.3 million cap hit for that particular group. That's your boys, the Buffalo Bills. All right, Buffalo Bills are number 4. That means we're in the top 3. Uh-oh. There's one thing to be in the top 5. It's another thing to be in the top 3.
All right. Houston, we have a problem.
Houston, we have a problem.
Number 3, Pro Football Focus says, is the Kansas City Chiefs. So right now, I'm going to stop and say number 3 is too high for the Kansas City Chiefs. Okay? I haven't been this emphatic about any of these other things. I've said maybe I agree, maybe I don't. This guy, that guy, he could be higher or lower. I'm going to tell you right now, number 3 is too daggone high for the Kansas City Chiefs.
All right, let me make sure I understand what you're saying. You're saying they should be some number 4 and beyond, not 2 and beyond. Not going in toward that number 1 status. Number 3 is too high.
Number 3 is too high.
Wow.
They should be lower. I'm not exactly sure how low they should be, but if you gave me a couple minutes, which I'm not going to take right now, I could tell you exactly after I go back and look at the top 10, I will put, they might be outside the top 10. That's my opinion.
Now is that because of the outsized impact of one Tyreek Hill?
Well, this is the way I see it. First of all, I'm going to say they're too high because just like the Atlanta Falcons, who we talked about last week, with Kyle Pitts being such an impact on the receiving core as a whole, while we're really trying to keep this at wide receivers, the Chiefs' X factor is the number 1 tight end in the league, who's Travis Kelce. He is not a wide receiver, although he can play like a wide receiver. But because he's actually truly a tight end, I'm going to call him an X factor when ranking this group. He's a major receiving threat. He can line up in line. He can light up in the slot. He can line up out wide. I'll give him all that. But because he's not a true wide receiver, I got to put a little asterisk beside this group. Now, that being said, Tyreek Hill is a nightmare. He's a nightmare for zone defenses. He can't be covered man-to-man. He cannot be covered man-to-man. Since 2017, he has over 700 yards more on deep passes than any other wide receiver in the NFL. 700 yards more on total deep passes. And I think the NFL considers a deep pass 20 yards or more.
Okay.
In the air, so to speak. Okay. 700 yards more than anybody else in the entire league. Last season, he had 87 catches on 131 targets for 1,276 yards. A whole ton of that was yak, and an incredible 15 touchdowns. Not only can you not cover him, not only does he slice zone defenses up, find holes in zone defenses regularly, but once he catches the ball and starts to run, DB's ankles start breaking all over the place.
Yeah, you can hear.
Guy's crazy.
Bones cracking.
It's crazy. So again, I understand how Pro Football Focus can be enamored with this group, but I'm sure that they're including Kelsey in here, and I don't quite think that's fair. So that's the only reason why I said what I said. Meanwhile, Tyreek Hill is just a mess. Here's the thing, though. The rest of the room is filled with speed and playmaking ability, but not a lot of production. So again, they're using Travis Kelce's production, and they're using the rest of the room's potential. All these guys have shown flashes of being big-time playmakers, but don't have the production to prove that they truly are. We're talking about Mecole Hardman, Demarcus Robinson, and Byron Pringle. They all played in the Super Bowl last season. I believe they all played in the Super Bowl that the Chiefs won the year before. I believe everybody knows their names and has seen them make big catches, but none of them is really like even a true wide receiver to go-to type of guy, you know? So Pro Football Focus says they're number 3. I got to go with it. I don't agree. Maybe Hardman and Robinson will change my mind after this season. We'll see. Sammy Watkins is gone now. So that means Hardman's got to step up and become the true number 2 behind Tyreek. So we'll see.
Yeah. If you said to the average person, Brian Pringle, Cornell Powell, and Marcus Kemp.
Yeah.
So, I understand what you're saying. They have a total cap hit just under $22 million for 2021. Tyreek is 15.8 of that.
Yeah, well deserved. But the rest of them guys haven't proven that they should get any more money.
Well, but they're there, and that looks to be out of balance to me.
They're paying them for potential too.
Yeah, I mean, everybody wants another number 2 that is competitive. So right. if Mecole Hardman can be that guy, then they'll get a great value for $1.3 million on the cap hit for 2021 out of Mecole. We shall see. But that's number 3, which means that the next one is number
2. Now, just like what I just said about the Kansas City Chiefs, I'm going to say the opposite about number 2 and number 1. In my eyes, it would be very, very difficult. Let's just talk about number 2 right now. In my eyes, it'd be very, very difficult to rank another team besides the number 1 team that we're going to get to over this number 2 team. It's possible that we could argue, but you'd have a real rough time winning that argument. At number 2, we have the Dallas Cowboys. Now we're talking about, just like we were talking about the Chiefs not having a total really great wide receiver room, the Dallas Cowboys, and that's a perfect picture. The Dallas Cowboys have arguably the best receiving trio in the league, not to mention the entire core. The problem with the Cowboys last year was that they were hampered by spotty quarterback play after Dak Prescott went down. All three of their main guys are capable of separating and creating after the catch. So they're yak guys, and they're really, really extremely good route runners. Here we go. Amari Cooper, 92 catches on 128 targets, 1,174 yards, 5 touchdowns. CeeDee Lamb, on his rookie year, 74 catches, 109 targets, 935 yards, 5 touchdowns. Michael Gallup, a veteran, quiet, number 3 option, 59 catches, 98 targets, 843 yards, 5 touchdowns. All 3 of them scored 5 touchdowns. And if I look at this picture carefully, I can see a guy there named Wilson and a guy there named Brown. If I'm not mistaken, both of those guys are speedsters. So you got a top 3 or a trio of receivers who can all beat coverage, all reliable hands, all good after the catch, and a couple of speedsters that you can throw in to take the top off. That's one hell of a wide receiver room.
Man, similar to the Chiefs who we just talked about, the Cowboys, out of their $31.6 million cap hit for 2021. So they put some money out. They got money going out the door for their receivers. Amari Cooper's portion of that is $22 million.
Yeah, he's been around. Yeah.
Yeah, so he's really taken the lion's share of that 31. I mean, Amari Cooper's cap hit is larger than the Chiefs' total cap hit for 2021. So I wonder who the capologist is for the Cowboys. We got to find that out. And hope it's not Jerry
Jones. He does everything else. Actually, I think it's his son, Stephen Jones. I believe he handles that. Yeah,
probably is. It probably.
And I was watching Hard Knocks last night. You're talking about route runners. Amari Cooper still got it, bro. When he's not nicked up, his feet are fast. It's hard to cover him off the line of scrimmage. He's not a guy you want to bump and run with. And CeeDee Lamb was even hitting him up on Hard Knocks about advice about running certain kind of routes against certain kind of coverage. So yeah, Cooper still got it. These guys, this is quite a group. Well,
we shall see if Dak is back.
Yeah, it's kind of all on Dak. Yeah.
No, because other than that, who is it? But DiNucci?
Ben DiNucci, the Nooch.
The Nooch. Throwing to that $31.6 million group there. All right. We did number 3. We did number 2. That only leaves one left. Go ahead. Let's hear it.
Please, folks out there, please leave comments. Hit us up. Argue with me, please, because I want to have this conversation. In my mind, as well as Pro Football Focus, there is no doubt that the number 1 ranked team, if you haven't figured it out by now, is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. There is no argument in my eyes that this is the best total wide receiver core in the league. Man, this is crazy. Even though he battled injuries last season, Mike Evans produced 1,006 yards and 13 touchdowns. And he was in and out of the lineup with all kind of bang. I remember a play, he got hit on the sideline. I thought he was crushed. I was like, oh, he's done. And he came back. 1,006 yards, 13 touchdowns. He caught 70 balls on 108 targets last season. Chris Godwin also battled injuries, in and out of the lineup, still put up 840 yards, 7 touchdowns, 65 catches on 83 targets. These are reliable guys that when they're on the field, healthy or not, they produce. Here's the crazy one. Antonio Brown, who didn't even see the field until week 9, was targeted 62 times. This guy, wait. Let me go back. Chris Godwin, who played almost every game, I don't think he missed maybe 1 or 2 games, had 83 targets. Antonio Brown didn't show up till week 9 to be able to play and was targeted 62 times and caught 45 of them. Excuse me, for 433 yards, 483 yards, and 4 touchdowns. Over a season, and you're the mathematician, not me, that's probably 90 catches and over 1,200 yards. And we won't even talk about touchdowns if he had played the full season with Tom Brady. That's crazy. And then on top of that, they sneak Scotty Miller on you, who's one of the fastest receivers, believe it or not, in the league. Especially coming out of the slot. Especially coming out, huh?
Just ask the Green Bay Packers.
Exactly. They just sneak him in there right before halftime, and he runs a go route on one of your best DBs and torches them. And you know, scoring touchdowns right before the half is killers. Scotty Miller.
You had the DBs looking at each other like, what just happened?
What just happened? It's crazy. So you got Scotty Miller, and they got a young boy who I'm not going to tell you a whole bunch about. I didn't look up his numbers from last season because his usage was a little bit low, but I remember his name, and I remember seeing him make some plays that make me feel he's going to be a player to watch. If you're in a bind in fantasy for a receiver, and of course that won't be at the beginning of the season. Nobody's in a bind at the beginning of the season. But as the season goes on, if you lose a receiver or you got a bye week, look out for a guy named Tyler Johnson. Tyler Johnson is a nice player. This is the best wide receiver core in the league. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, #1. There you have it.
Numero uno. Wow. Mike Evans and Chris Godwin are 31, just under 32 million of a $38 million total cap hit for this year. And, you know, I hear you talking about Antonio Brown. You know, you got to remember that's Tom Brady's buddy.
Right.
He knows if anybody else is doing whatever, I know that this guy can probably get free, will catch the ball. You know what I mean? And he is a former all-pro, all-time. You know, there was never any question about Antonio Brown's ability as a football player.
Right.
And Tom Brady was able to get him on a straight and narrow, you know, acting like a normal person path after he went through so much, leaving the Steelers and then joining the Raiders and, you know, so, and then going to the Patriots, you know, so good to see that his career was resurrected. 38.2, almost $38.3 million cap hit, well paid. And we like the capologists for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers anyway. We like that whole management team. So congratulations, Ben. And again, you're in agreement.
Yes, I am in agreement with Pro Football Focus that the Buccaneers have the best wide receiver room in the NFL. No doubt.
Man, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Antonio Brown, Scotty Miller. That's 4 deep right there.
Yep.
That's 4 deep that you can pretty much depend on. So yeah, I'm with you there. That's pretty good. All right. Wow. Ben and Barry on football with the top 3, the top 5, the top 10, the top half of the wide receiver rooms in the NFL based on Pro Football Focus. But we both agree with #1, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And I'm sure it doesn't hurt to have a Tom Brady efficiently putting that ball in your hands.
It's the perfect marriage. You got guys that are great route runners with extremely reliable hands, and a couple of them with real good explosion like Brown and Scotty Miller, and a pinpoint passer in Tom Brady, who can throw any route. But I don't care if the guy is in your job on the sideline. Brady will put it where nobody can get it but Evans or Godwin. If they're coming across the middle and they're slicing through, he's going to hit them in the numbers. It's a perfect marriage. It really is.
Well, and I'm sure, and they are favored. Are they favored to win Super Bowl again, according to Vegas? Have you seen that at all?
They're up there. They're up there. Kansas City's up there. Cleveland's up there. There's another NFC. We'll have to do that next week. We'll take a look at Vegas, and then I'll come up with my own. But yeah, we'll talk about that. It's going to be an interesting season. Very interesting season.
All right, that wraps up the receiver rooms for the NFL Top 32, again presented by Ben and Barry. Let me again mention, this is Ben and Barry on football. You can find us at www.benandbarryonfootball.com, as well as social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube, and podcasts at Apple, Spotify, and Anchor Podcasts. And after this weekend, which we will be on Friday evenings from 6 to 7:30 at WJRL953.com. That's online radio. But after this weekend, then we'll be on Saturday mornings at 10 at the same online radio location. All right. That was great. All right, Benny, as usual, as we begin to wrap up the show, we're going to look at our social media page on Facebook and talk about some of the issues that have come up over the past week. We get to choose, what we talk about, and that's what's great. Now, the first one is more of interest to Giants fans because there was just some conversation about one Mr. Saquon Barkley. And as a Giants fan, you had to deal with the decision when it came time to make that choice relative to picking a quarterback. And they chose Saquon and gave Eli one last year. So we began to call Saquon the gift because it was that choice that gave Eli that additional contract year and that additional year to see if he had any juice left. So that's why we called him the gift. But as you look back now and think about the other quarterbacks that were picked and what the options were as a Giant fan, how do you feel about that?
I don't regret taking Saquon Barkley. I think Saquon Barkley can be an excellent running back for years to come. Obviously, he's had a knee injury, but so have a lot of other guys, and they've persisted and had really nice, productive careers. I remember talk of the Giants having made a mistake by taking Saquon so high in the draft, when in fact people believed that Eli was on the downside and it was time to take a quarterback at that time. The Giants chose not to do that. They went with Saquon. They felt like they could get a good quarterback or a new franchise quarterback at a later time, and they ended up with Daniel Jones. If he turns out to be a franchise quarterback or not still remains to be seen. But I have no regrets as a fan for them taking Saquon. Now, these questions that persist even to today, where are they coming from? Because if they're coming from the media, I could care less because that's just talk. That sounds like these Eagle fans going woulda, shoulda, coulda about Deshaun Watson and Justin Jefferson and I don't know. I have no problem with Saquon Barkley. None at all.
None at all, right?
He's a top flight running back in my book as far as fantasy circles are concerned. And there's a ton of fantasy so-called experts out there. in the media, Saquon Barkley is a first-round fantasy draft pick in every single outlet you look at, NFL.com, ESPN, CBS, Yahoo. You look at the list, he's in the top 6 players overall, not just running backs, overall. So sounds to me like they all agree with me. This talk about we should have took a quarterback instead of taking Saquon, that's just media talk.
Okay. Okay. All right.
My opinion.
In your opinion. No doubt about it. That's why we're here, because we get to give those opinions. Now, just very quickly, we shared on our page this gentleman from the Steelers who was the recipient of a couple touchdown passes from one Mr. Roethlisberger.
Oh, is this the Penn State kid?
Yeah, so I wanted to give you a chance to just say something about
Yeah. Now, I'm not sure how to pronounce his name. It's Freiermuth?
Something like that. It's very close.
Yeah, I got to study up on his name because I like to get guys' names correct. This kid looks like he's going to be a problem. Okay. Not only for defenses, but for Eric Ebron. Like, Eric Ebron better watch out. Right now, he's probably at the top of the depth chart as far as tight ends is concerned for the Steelers. But this kid, he's tall. He can run. He's got reliable hands. In fact, he was quoted as saying his whole career at Penn State, he never dropped a pass in the red zone, ever. Now, that's a little something to stand on for a young fella coming into the league. I like it.
And on the other end of that pass, Mr. Roethlisberger looked great.
Yeah, well, they're saying he's in really good condition.
He was firing that ball efficiently. Boom, boom, boom. Okay, I'm done. Let's send the next, those other 2 guys, send them guys in. Because he came in and scored 2 touchdowns like that.
Right. And you know what? That's what you want in the preseason if you start your quarterback. You want to put your starting lineup there to protect him and have him show right off the bat why he's number 1 and why he don't need no more snaps. And he came in and did that. And he's 2 years removed from his elbow injury. So that's a good thing. They say he lost a significant amount of weight. Not that that's going to mean he can move any better, okay, because he's still Big Ben, all right? But if that arm is good, seasoned, veteran, Super Bowl winner.
With a new weapon, and a tight end, much less.
A nice young receiving core. Johnson, Claypool. Yeah, still is going to be a problem.
All right, I'm looking to see what they're going to do. All right. Next up, Ben, and again, in fantasy, I know when you're looking for those people to put in your as your backups, AJ McCarron has a torn ACL, and was probably the number 2 guy there for Atlanta. Do you see anybody coming in there? I mean, you're not going to see a Gardner Minshew or somebody else coming in to take his place as a backup. I mean, because their quarterback doesn't really get hurt a lot. Well, yeah, he doesn't really get hurt a lot. He's pretty much plays most of the year, right?
Matt Ryan, I can't remember the last time Matt Ryan had a serious injury. So
right, that's what I'm trying to say.
He's been pretty durable. Real quick, got to remember in fantasy, you're normally playing with 10 or 12, sometimes 14 teams. So your backup quarterback in fantasy is actually a starter.
Okay, all right.
He's like your second starter. But as far as NFL teams is concerned, I don't know what they're going to do. I don't know who else they've got down there on the depth chart. But it's funny that you mentioned Gardner Minshew, because I've heard a couple other people on television say they need to either start Gardner Minshew or get him up out of there, set him free. And I got a funny feeling that the Jaguars' phone is going to be ringing. I know Minshew does not want to be a backup. I know he thinks he can still be a starter. But I don't know that he has much say as far as being traded is concerned. So we'll have to see. I got a funny feeling he may be moving though. But I don't know what Atlanta's thinking. AJ McCarron is he's been hanging around for a while as a backup. I think he had a little stint with Cincinnati. Funny, we were talking about Ohio State and how they're not famous for producing quarterbacks. Neither is Alabama. So, that's, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. But yeah, they're going to have to make some kind of move, I think. They have to do something.
When we talked a little bit about the Jaguars and the promo that we did for our Saturday show and Minshew. And I mentioned the question about their offensive line in Jacksonville. Yeah. So, with that in mind, Jacksonville might want to hold on to that second string quarterback. Come on, man. You might get some playing time, buddy.
You know what? That's a thought, because when you have a guy that and let's face it, they just declared that Trevor Lawrence is Urban Meyer just made the decision. Okay, so we're down to the last preseason game, maybe 3 weeks away from opening day, and he made the decision. So there was a bit of a competition there. At least he pretended there was. But if you got a starter-ready guy at backup, and your O-line isn't the greatest, and you got a rookie, be it the first overall pick, still a rookie, you might want to hang on to Gardner Minshew. Yeah, that's sheesh.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. That's hilarious. The stuff we come up with. Okay, Ben, what the heck is Cam Newton doing?
I'm confused. Please tell me what's going on here. Did he go and get his own? Did he go to CVS for his test?
Well, he did not go to the NFL. And if you're unvaccinated, the rules are very strict on testing. You can't go and say, I got a test down at the CVS and show that and say, that's my daily testing and that's going to suffice. They don't play that in the NFL. They don't play that. But I'm going to say this much real quick. I've had a lot of conversations with people about the vaccine and all that. Number one, I'm surprised he's not vaccinated. And seeing how the NFL has already pretty much made their stance relative to vaccinated players and whether you get to play or not, because you got to get tested every day. I think where the NFL is maybe missing a beat is that the testing, I believe, should include the vaccinated players. In other words, don't assume because you're vaccinated, you don't need to be tested.
Well, do we know that that's not happening? I don't know that we do. No, that's got to be happening because
but it's not happening. It's not happening at the level of the unvaccinated players. They're like two different testing regimens in the protocols.
Yeah, but I don't think, I could be wrong. I don't think that the testing of the vaccinated guys has gone down. I think the testing of the unvaccinated guys has gone up. You see what I'm saying?
Up to where it was kind of in the early days of COVID.
Right.
And I believe that the vaccinated players testing
just as
back to the days of COVID.
I got you.
Because it's just being proven that you can be vaccinated and be contagious as hell.
I got you. I understand what you're saying. I'm
really, and I still don't know how I feel about the NFL. Now, the NFL is got all these protocols for their players. But as far as the fans are concerned, it's come one, come all. Let's pack this stadium with 80,000 people. So, and this current, again, with the Delta variant and with some of the changes, because you just got so much dissension around that whole subject. So many people want to do their own thing. They're not going to go along with this. It's a government conspiracy. It's this, it's that, it's the other. So long story short, as far as I'm concerned, we aren't much further along. The number one thing is that the vaccine keeps the people from dying when they do get it. And
Right.
that's what was most important as far as I was concerned.
Right.
But long story short, I'm questioning the fan protocol and I'm questioning the player protocol as maybe not strict enough in this environment.
Considering what you said a few times in previous videos that we've made about the NFL being your little canary in the coal mine, I would agree with you. I've always looked at sports teams and sports leagues as being a microcosm of society when it comes to things other than the game itself. So yeah, I would agree with you. And also real quick on Cam, he had COVID last year. He was not asymptomatic. As far as I can remember, he was fairly sick. I'm not going to say he was real bad.
People say he didn't look the same afterwards.
And when he came back, he was not himself. He had lingering problems. So, yeah, I'm surprised he's not vaccinated.
Now, this gives the backup, the
mac and cheese.
Mac and cheese, as Cam calls him.
Dude, he got the inside track. This is Belichick. Look, this is beautiful for Belichick. You know Belichick really, really wants to start mac and cheese. And he's doing everything.
Mac Jones for you guys.
Mac Jones, I'm sorry. He wants to start Mac Jones, but he's not a dummy. He wants to make sure that Mac Jones is fully up to speed with the playbook, can make all the throws. He's familiar with the receivers and all that stuff. So he's giving him some time in practice. I think he's got some snaps with the #1 offense. And, you know, he's trying to give him his preseason stuff.
He's getting all the snaps with the #1 offense.
Well, not all. He is now.
Now, that's what
because Cam's not there. But previously, he was probably getting more snaps with the #1 offense than you would normally think if, in fact, Cam Newton was considered the #1 quarterback. So he's been sliding him in there. Now he don't have to slide him in there no more. Cam opened the freaking door. He took his own self out, even though he claims it was a mistake or misunderstanding of the protocols. He has now opened the door for Mac Jones to get all the reps he needs and a chance to prove himself in this last preseason game, which I believe is against my Giants. So he's got a little tough defense to go up against. I don't know how long the starters are going to play, but it could be a nice little test for Mac Jones. Mac Jones can actually steal this job.
I made that point. I had one dissenter on our page who doesn't think that's going to happen. But this is what I would say. #1, as a Niner fan, Mac Jones' name came up all the time in the draft.
Yes.
And one of the reasons I did not want Mac Jones was I thought that he was a player who was ready to start right out the bat. Okay. And I didn't see him displacing Garoppolo. Okay. So I do see him as a good potential starter, no less than the starter for the Jets, you know.
Who has surprised.
Huh?
Who has surprised. He surprised me. Zach Wilson is better than I thought he was going to
be. Yeah, we could talk a little bit about Zach Wilson.
Yeah.
I think to me, he's the surprise of the preseason, to be quite honest with you.
Okay.
And so the next thing that I'm thinking is Cam came into the Patriots situation last year. Of course, we had the COVID protocols. It was a weird situation in general.
Right.
But early on, Cam even talked about how difficult it was to grasp that playbook. He called it calculus, like studying calculus. I'm getting the feeling that Mac Jones isn't struggling that much to absorb this.
I get the same feeling.
You too?
And you know, Nick Saban, the coach of Alabama, and Bill Belichick are extremely close.
Okay, all right. That's inside information. Okay.
So Saban probably told him, bro, this guy won't have no problem with your playbook. Don't be afraid to take him.
That's what I'm talking about. So, you know, I had to bring that up because I'm like, okay, Cam, you just opened the door with this guy. And if you're not careful, because Cam, they're not paying anything to Cam. You know, that the little money that they gave him, they could walk away from that, no problem. You know, and Cam, he's already had to eat a bit of humble pie. You know, there's a few guys out there who are on contracts now that ate their humble pie, but they're still working. They're still getting paid.
Right.
I don't know how he would react to that, but I think that, you know, he's I'm hoping he'll be grown up about it, you know. But I don't think it would happen because Cam actually had a decent preseason up to this point.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm not saying Cam didn't, you know, in the second year, him and Mac Jones aren't that highly differentiated in when I've seen them play in the preseason. So we'll have to see how that goes. And one other thing, Benny, as a coach, and maybe you can help me with this. I'm listening to one of the analysts, and they were talking about how in a preseason game, the defenses are pretty much vanilla. The teams don't want to show you.
Yeah, you don't want to show too much.
Don't want to show too much. But in practice, he's saying they're throwing everything at these guys. You know, that they're seeing way more in practice than what they were going to see in the actual preseason game, which means what they're seeing from Mac Jones, they're firing what they want to see, what they want to fire at him. And if he's handling that stuff in practice, it could have a bigger impact than what we're able to estimate from the outside.
True.
That's what I'm thinking about that.
The true test, and I think that if by chance this open door creates a situation where they decide they're going to go with Mac Jones, I think Cam will probably take it well, because first of all, there won't be anything he can do about it. And second of all, in his back pocket, he still has, you know, I'm going to sit back and I'm going to see what this rookie does when the live bullets start flying. They may be calling my name shortly, but we'll see. He's still going to make his money, even though it's not a lot of money. He's going to make his money. He'll still be in the league. He'll still be Cam Newton. He'll still be able to go on YouTube and smoke cigars and wear those crazy hats and all that other stuff. I think he's got a wine out or something. You know, Cam's living his best life, man. I can't. Dude's been in the Super Bowl. You know, what are you going to do? It's Cam.
It's Cam, yeah. You know, anybody else. Now, speaking of anybody else, we had this everybody's having this conversation about Garoppolo and Trey Lance.
Yeah.
I'm going to give it to you from the Madden perspective here, okay?
No, that might not be good for Jimmy G, but go ahead.
Dude, the numbers are what they are. So this is the rankings for the Niners. And this is, if you look here, this is the overall ranking. Jimmy Garoppolo is ranked 76. So he's not getting a whole bunch of respect from EA Sports. Trey Lance is ranked 74.
And hasn't played a down yet.
Hasn't played a down. Now look, Garoppolo's speed rating 72, Trey Lance 87.
That's wide receiver number, right?
You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, you know, so much of everything that Trey Lance has, strength, he's higher, agility, he's higher. Probably, well, as I remember, Garoppolo was not even that much higher than him in awareness.
Really?
Yeah.
So I was going to say that's probably where Lance would fall off.
Well, he fell off enough that he's 2 points behind him in the total overall, but not that much.
Gee whiz.
Dude, as much I'm sitting here telling everybody, you know, Garoppolo. I'll pull up the game. I'm like, let me run with Trey. Let me see what I can do here. You know?
So now I gotta ask you, you're a Niners fan. That's your team. You love your team. Just like I love the Giants. I know you do. I know you, my man. Do you think that in the back of Mr. Shanahan's mind, he's going to go with Garoppolo and keep grooming Trey and try to play him this year? Or do you think he would prefer to hope and keep his fingers crossed that Garoppolo stays healthy and Trey does not have to play this year?
Well, if he did, him and I would be on the same wavelength.
If Trey did not have to play.
Right, right.
Okay.
Now, but I do think that Trey should be the number 2. Okay.
Oh, absolutely.
Which means that he might need to get him in there at some point. If we ever get a lead, if we,
it doesn't happen much in the NFL.
It doesn't happen a whole bunch.
Blowout time.
And then, the other thing is, Garoppolo staying healthy. At some point, he's going to twist the ankle. So you're probably going to have to bring in Trey.
You got to be ready for that, which means he has to be prepared in case they have to use him. When your quarterback has injury issues, as Garoppolo does, you have to have him ready to go. But I want to know, do you think he's hoping that Garoppolo stays healthy, has a good season, and Trey does not have to play?
Or do you hoping that? Yeah.
Because I get the feeling that the plan is the first chance we get, we feel comfortable, we sticking him in there. That's the feeling I get.
Really?
And I get that, yes. And I get that because of that little blurb that we saw about these packages. That's a sure clue, man. That's a sure clue that they are itching to get him on the field.
I went back to the Niners playbook. Remember I told you I used to play with the Ravens playbook.
Right.
So when I looked at the playbooks this year, some of the plays that I were a big part of my offense were no longer there. So
okay.
it's like,
it's
okay.
A new game.
Yeah, I had, the game is good at just screwing you up just enough so that you really have to go back into a learning process.
Right.
What I mean?
That's a good thing, though.
That's a good thing. And you saw when we were doing our promo, I got the phone call from my son, and he's calling me, I'm ready. Because I beat him in that first game. He done went back and beat like 3, 4, 5 people, and now he's ready. But I've changed playbooks, and I'm ready too, okay? But long story short, for the Niners, it's always going to be about who can most efficiently run that offense. Because, again, we talked about our receivers. Good, not great. You know what I mean? But that offense doesn't need great receivers necessarily. It would be nice to have, I'm one of those guys, I want the speed demon. I want a DK. You know what I mean? So, I want at least one speed demon. The way I ran my offense, I was always able to take full advantage of that. I love Ayuk more than I like Debo, for example, and of course, we have Kittle, So between those, Debo, Kittles, Ayuk, and Mostert, you've got 4 receivers as far as I'm concerned, because Mostert can do it all,
Yeah. Kittle could be that tight end X factor that I talked about with Pitts and with Kelsey. But the reason I didn't bring Kittle up is because your wide receiver group holds their own. You know what I mean? I don't have to say this group is ranked high because they got Kittle. You know what I mean? They're all, as a group, they can pretty much do it all. They fit the scheme, they got explosiveness. Ayuk is probably the best all-round receiver that they have. Debo is the guy, get the ball to him in space any way you can, let him work. Richie James and Travis Benjamin are going to be to take the top off guys, but they can produce. All right. So I didn't have to mention Kittle. But now that we're just talking about the team, good gosh, that's a huge addition. Kittle up the seam is a nightmare. DBs are going, no, here he comes. Safeties are like, shit, I can run with this guy. Yo, it's a nice group, man.
When
Just
in doubt,
Jimmy G
and this is one of the things I used to say to you when it came to trying to ascertain how good the receivers are. When you have a dominant piece like Kittle there, and I'm not even mentioning, my boy Juszczyk.
Oh well, he's the Swiss Army knife.
The offense
gotta have a Swiss Army
uses
knife.
him a lot more than the Ravens offense was designed as far as the fullback is concerned. So This is
Since
interesting.
we're praising your 49ers, let me just say, I hope like heck Mostert comes back and has a really good year because I always liked him from the first time I saw him. Okay. But whether he does or he doesn't, the boy Trey Sermon, fantasy alert, is late in the fantasy draft. Oh, gee, I need another running back. Oh, all the starters are gone. Get Trey Sermon. Kid is
You really
nice.
like Trey Sermon, eh?
I really like Trey Sermon.
Trey Sermon,
Yeah, where they got him on the game?
he's not getting a lot of love on the game. I'm going to take a quick look because I know I've actually replaced him when I had to, set some things up. Let me see if I can pull this up. Oh, there he is. All right, Trey, let's see what you got. He is ranked 74, 86 speed, which is pretty good. Great acceleration at 93, 78 strength, very strong. I might have to give him a little bit more than what I was thinking.
Yeah.
I might need to give him a little more respect than I was thinking about. So,
Yeah.
but overall, only a 74, probably awareness at 67.
Well, he's going to get dinged on awareness.
Catcher. They only have his catching at rated 68. So in that offense, that's not a good thing. We shall see if those ratings will be adjusted when they get to see him play.
Right. I don't think they used him much catching the ball in college. So it'd be hard to give him a rating that he didn't really earn there. And of course, a rookie awareness is going to get dinged a little bit because it's his first year.
Rookie, yeah.
But I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised.
Well, we have a division. Then you're going to have to come ready.
But the more weapons you got, the better in a division like that. Like,
no doubt.
People are looking at the Seahawks going, wow, Seahawks, they're back. They're going to be good. But their weaponry is, I don't know about that depth there.
Let me mention one thing before we sign off. You mentioned Kyle Pitts in previous shows.
Yes.
You just want to get as much Kyle Pitts as you can.
Hey, Philly guy.
Playing against the Falcons. Kyle Pitts, man, was killing me. So, yeah, he's got all of those attributes on the game also.
He's pretty much DK. Maybe not as fast, just straight speed, but size, catch radius, Yeah.
So that's going to be interesting. And him and Matty Ice, I expect to see a lot of hookups between those two. So it's going to be interesting. That's an NFC for you, baby.
Yep.
No joke. NFC won the Super Bowl last year. So back again. All right, Benny. That was fun. We did the wide receiver room top half. We talked some great football. Any last words?
Go Noles.